Opinions important, so you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass by. Spell out, let me hear you now. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is Neutral Voices. We gon' deal with the issues. What do you really want, what they want.
Welcome to Neutral Voices. I'm Dr. V, and this is In Depth, where we dig deep in the trenches of what matters. And what matters to us tonight, our teens, our youth, and the challenges they face. So, with that, so many challenges.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my students. I don't have children in the home, but I do have a lot of teenagers around me almost every day.
You see it firsthand.
Firsthand, and if I don't see them, they're calling. I just talked to one today, and here they are on spring break thinking about Ms. V. And and it's interesting because even though they have wonderful parents, sometimes they want to talk to Ms. V. And so a lot of times we don't really understand a lot of things that they have to deal with, that they have to face. And so not like back in the day. Now, I know I'm older than you guys. So I'll say this. Back in the day, we didn't really have to work when we were in high school. I don't know, was that the case for you guys?
I did.
I did.
You did? Y'all see. I did not. And if you wanted to, that would have been just something that you just wanted to do. But nowadays, it's a different story. So I have students that if they don't work, the household would be in trouble. I was going to say that they would be in trouble, but literally thinking about some of them, the household would suffer.
Yeah. I worked, but it's not because I worked because my parents said, back then I think it was 13. So at 13, I already had my parents already had my car, but they said, you're going to go to work when you can. You're going to buy your own insurance, blah, blah, blah. But with that being said, I had friends, now that you said that worked to help pay the bills in the home.
Absolutely.
Young teenagers. I was just working to have a little, fun money. But I definitely, I know what you're saying as far as supporting the home.
Yeah.
Well, I seen a lot of it when I was working at the Wise Park Youth Center as a youth counselor. So it's to see kids actually starving on a daily basis, literally like, Mr. Fikes, can we get something to eat out the kitchen, or can we get something out the pantry? And then you see the parents, and the parents is like, can we, we would go to the food bank twice a week, and we would literally give away food because we seen parents that didn't have it. They worked their butts off, but they still couldn't afford half the time to feed their kids, and a lot of the kids did have to go to work.
Right. And you said that about the food pantry, and thank goodness we have food pantries all over Fort Wayne. I love that. But you said food pantry, and that brings me to one of the things we have on the list, which is poverty. So looking at some of the challenges, so let's deal with that. Since you mentioned the food, poverty, and you know what? A lot of times people don't know that they're in poverty.
Yeah.
And if you have a real good parent, you won't know as a child.
Right. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't know. Exactly.
But when you have, now, I may say a name, and hopefully I'm okay with it, or he's okay with this, but Mark Outlaw, I don't know if anyone knows who that is, so I'll leave it with that. But he does an amazing job of having a in-school pantry for young people, and they know that they could go to him if they are hungry, and he's going to make sure they have something on their tummy, and not just the kids. The adults can go down there too.
I said when I worked at Wise Park Youth Center, Carl Johnson.
Okay.
He didn't. I'm gonna put it like this: if any child walked in that building, was hungry, needed clothes, needed anything, needed just to sit down and talk, he would literally stop what he's doing and say, "Bring me my baby."
Yeah.
Because he felt every child in that building was his child.
Was his, yes.
And on the poverty end, a lot of people don't understand. They put themselves in poverty in a sense Because while you going out buying Jordans that cost $200, that's a $200 light bill.
$200.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm just
And
thinking
versus, you know, you want to have your child fresh to death, but you don't have lights on in your house.
So the outside is good, but tell me the inside is
bad.
in trouble.
It's in trouble, and so it does take people like Mark Outlaw to say, okay, you hungry? I feed you. It did take people like Carl Johnson to say, okay, you need some clothes. We could go and get you some clothes.
That's right.
You know, it's just it's part of some of these.
But we had to.
It's reality.
We had to get that out there because I've seen that too. And so here's the thing: some parents think, oh, just swoop through, grab a sandwich from Mickey D's or wherever, right? So I'm doing all right, and then that sandwich is gone, and that kid is hungry still. But you ate, right? And so, you know, sometimes you have to put a little bit more effort in it. And so with that being said, Jill, I know that, and so poverty is one of the challenges that our teens, our young people are facing today, especially, I'm going to say some of the silent challenges because they don't want people to know.
Right.
And so I've had them come to me and say, Miss V, do you have snacks? I'm like, oh, okay, let me get you something. You know, so kudos to Mr. Young too. Let me just throw that out there because he also has a loaded pantry, and so I say that to say you never know who's watching you, and so some of the good things that people are doing will trickle down to some other people to do the same thing, and so that's what I notice has been happening in our school.
Yeah.
So kudos to Mr. Young for doing that. But outside of poverty, there's some other things. So let's talk about those other things too.
So, you know, when you say poverty, too, something that I think of is, and I know we can't change the way that people treat each other, but you have to think, when I was in school, I didn't see, there were no pantries. The resources weren't present. If they were, I didn't know that they were. But, for example, I'm going to say free lunch. A lot of kids got free lunch. Well, a lot of those kids got made fun of for having to be in the free lunch line. There were different lines.
Oh.
So everybody knew that so-and-so got free lunch. So it's not just that the children are carrying, they're seeing the effects and wearing the effects of an impoverished home, but they are also being pressured. And it's just one more thing to add to the list.
Yes.
So that brings me to social media. So 90%, almost 100% of 13 to 17-year-old children, I'm going to say children, have some kind of social media account. So why is that an issue, you said? It is a huge, huge issue. For instance, I was locked out of my personal Facebook account for 2 years, okay? 2 years, gone. But when I got back in, I realized how peaceful it was to not have that. Not just because I'm busy, but because the pressures, the comparison, the everything in your face right there, setting unrealistic expectations for me as an adult. So imagine being a 13-year-old on social media and seeing this and seeing that has, you know, he's from this big house. And instead of back in the 90s when you didn't know what people had unless you went to their homes,
That's right.
now it's all in front of you. It's all in front of you because Johnny has the newest shoes because there's his photo with 2,400 likes. You don't even post a picture because you don't have that. So I feel like social media is a huge issue today that we didn't have back then.
That's right. And not only is it an issue, but and not just for teens. So we're not picking, but we do want to shed light on certain situations so that we can help adults. So I just want to say the word addiction.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when you say social media, can you believe that people are truly addicted?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things. And so I've even found that in my classroom that when I say, put the phone down, right? You got to put that cell up or you got to bring that to me. There's a problem. And so I said, I'll let you keep it, but you can't pick it up. And I could be 2 minutes out and I look over and they picked it up again.
Yeah.
And you can do the same thing
Yeah.
with adults. And it's
For
so
sure.
addictive.
For sure.
What is that about? You're all in the shower with your phone.
Yeah.
You're in the bed. That's the real bestie right there.
Yeah, it is. It's become. We as parents as adults have become attached to the phone. So children learn a lot of what they learn through behavior that is modeled from somebody that they respect and they look up to. So we're showing them this. This is what they are doing. And I'm going to bring up social media 34 more times throughout the set because it literally affects everything and is just, it puts greater pressures on the teens than we had back then. For example, I'm gonna say bullying. So let's say that in 1996 I was a junior and somebody made fun of me for whatever, my hair being short, whatever. That particular event was between me and that person. When I left school or the playground, it could leave my mind. So today, somebody doesn't like my outfit. So not only do they say something to me, but then maybe they'll take a picture of me and then they'll post it. And then 2,400 people share it. And so I can't get away from it. I can't walk off of the playground and get over it like my parents told me to. I go home, it's in my face. Then 2 weeks later, they're still sharing it. So that's an example, you know, that plays into the suicide of teens now. You cannot get away from cruelty like we could back then, in my opinion.
And so connected to that, fear and
Well,
so go ahead.
A lot of it is the parents' fault because when our child was growing up, to get them quiet, what you did, you put that give them that tablet, and just let it go.
Right. And what happens when you give a baby a pacifier? You can never get rid of it.
Yeah,
pacifiers in their mouth till they're
so
3, 4.
So that's the same thing as a pacifier for them. On the other hand, as far as like the social media, we as parents need to say, okay, we need to shut that down. Period. Regardless of how that child sit back and say, "Oh, it's my phone." Yeah, it's your phone, but I pay the bill. I can shut it down in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? I feel we need to get back to the old, where we sat down at the table, had that conversation around the dinner table. I mean, if I could challenge everybody, just say, okay, for 48 hours, shut it down. I wonder how many people could do that.
Stay out of my notes. I got a pledge over here that I was going to put out there. So you already opened it up.
Yeah, for 48 hours, just shut it down. Shut it down. Only talk on the phone. And, you know, with me, at my job, I can't even really, I breathe on my phone too hard. Somebody see it, I can get written up. So that's cool with me. But we won't challenge ourselves, let alone challenge our child. I feel that today's child, and not to say anything about your theory about bullying, the mindset of our kids are weak.
And I agree.
Are very weak. Because the simple fact, you can get, if that's the case, when I was in high school, at the lunch table, it was every man
name
from the
calling and
everything, cracking, joning, whatever. You know, even at the 2 or 3 tables down here.
So you say if you do that now, that's bullying.
That's bullying. And it's like, how is that bullying? We just having, we just joking. Yeah. So their mindset is weak to the point where anything that they feel that they don't like that somebody does is a bully. That's how weak our kids' mind is at this point.
Okay.
I want to go back to, the 48-hour thing. Let's say that we did that, or let's say that all of social media just shut down for 48 hours. Do you believe that our teenage or our children would be able to form any kind of connection? They would not, because the social media and everything has replaced that. For instance, when I was 13, if I wanted to see my best friend, I had to go see my best friend. If I wanted to see my boyfriend or try to get a boyfriend, I had to go to the basketball game or whatever. They don't do that now. Their connections, their friendships are in their phones.
And it's not realistic.
Yeah, they have no clue how to connect on a deeper level because they have no reason to ever think on a critical level.
How many letters you pass down? Hey, get that over there.
Right.
That's right.
That was our text message.
Yes,
that was our text message.
Right. Written text.
Or if I wanted to talk to Dr. B and y'all was cool, me and you was cool. Hey, I need you to go put that together for me.
That was fun.
That was fun.
We had connections. We had and we need those connections.
We need those connections, and more so than anything, the teens, adults, everybody, we need balance.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the things that I would say, that is really missing. Okay, so let's talk about peer pressure, because that's one of the things that I would say I see that, and I'm sure as parents, you got to hear students come home and talk about somebody in the classroom. So peer pressure. Before you go there, this is Neutral Voices in Depth, and we're talking about the challenges that our teens, our youth are facing today.
I think I don't think that peer pressure, because peer pressure is something that every generation is shaped by what's going on, social, political, economical events. Peer pressure is always going to be there, and sometimes peer pressure is good, but today it's a little different. So I'm going to give another example. When I was in high school, peer pressure looked like drinking alcohol, smoking, marijuana. So if I chose to do any of those things, let's say I chose to drink or whatever, I probably wasn't going to OD, obviously. I mean, I was going to get in trouble. The difference now is the peer pressure is resulting in death from TikTok challenges to take this pill to help you with your homework, and it's laced with fentanyl. Peer pressure doesn't go away, but the effects and the aftermath is much more dangerous if you succumb to those pressures today than it was then.
It's the level of peer pressure. That's why I say our youth nowadays are mentally weak. I mean, literally.
It sounds so terrible when you say that, but I understand where you're going with that. So just think about pressures. So think about this. I mean, because I know you have children. What about school pressures? So, a lot of times people don't think about the pressure. There's a lot of pressure on the youth today at school to pass the test. We understand the standardized test and all of that.
That was the pressure we had when we was in high school.
You had pressure, but it's a different type of pressure in school today.
I would say today it would be a little easier because you have technology sitting right at your hand.
You can't use it.
How come you can't?
Like a research paper or something?
Yeah, you do a research paper. It's so easy to do
forbidden.
It's so easy to do a research paper right now. It's unbelievable. And I never understood when my daughter was in high school, she'd have a 4-page paper to do, and she'd do it the night before and ace it. Like, how did you do that? Dad, is everything right here? Yeah. Versus when we had to do a paper, we had to go down to the library.
Yes, for like 18 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, now watch me flip this when I say school pressure. So not just thinking about that. That's one thing. That's one angle. But we talked about you need to be accepted. You need to belong. Feeling, people talk about inclusion, but exclusion is heavy. And I see the students that are alone. And I'm like, why you don't want to go out there with it's like, no, I'm okay. Yeah. I'm good. And they just ball up in a little ball and they're on their phone. So in school, some of the pressures are trying to fit in. Yeah. Watch this. Or being accepted even by a teacher. Judgment. Yeah. Some of all the stuff you have to deal with when you're actually just at school trying to learn. Is this a safe environment for you? So the pressures of just coming out of your house and you are in an environment where you have all these different cultures of people for some students that they have never seen before, never had to interact with. And now you telling me you just made me partners with this person? So that's a whole nother pressure.
Actually, some of that right there, that's actually a good thing. If to line me up with somebody that's totally different from me, now I could get to the point where you have to have an open mind. Yeah. Because if you line me up with somebody I'm on this end of the spectrum, they're on this end of the spectrum, and we find a way to meet in the middle, now I learned how to deal with or handle another situation because I opened my mind up and said, okay, my teacher put me together with this guy. He likes this, and I'm a whole nother. But we end up finding a common ground. That gives me a connection now to that person where he got a connection to my side of the street, and I got a connection to his side of the street. Right. And our kids don't even think on that level. And one of the reasons our kids don't think on that level because of the parents don't even think on that level.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's why I get a lot of kickback with some students, and they have a real big attitude when I put them with someone that's opposite of what is the norm for them. Yeah. And so, trying to explore, have a conversation, and they just looking at each other,
Yeah.
don't want to talk and engage. And what is that?
Well, and you're being
They don't know how to talk to each other. That's the other thing
Exactly.
right
Well,
there.
it is because you said at home, maybe the parents are not teaching that. They're not putting them in an environment when they're young
Yeah.
so that they can understand how to work in a diverse group.
Group of
And
people.
I don't
play
even
with
think
friends.
that kids. When I was younger, I wanted to meet people. I had a lot of friends because who else are you going to play outside with, or who are you going to play on the basketball court with outside? Well, now again, like I said, they don't need a lot of friends because if I don't have anybody to hang out with, I'm just going to sit on my phone for 14 hours, and see what everybody else is doing. The connection to the like in their head is not necessary.
Well,
I don't even know that they would feel like what it feels like or have the connections that we used to have.
Right.
Well, and I can say I am a product. Well, my daughter's a product of my mindset because I grew up in the mentality of I don't need a lot of people. Period.
Yep.
The same 6 people that I grew up being close to, same 6 people I deal with right now.
Same.
And my son is something totally different. You my brother. You don't count. You family.
We're getting
Somebody said,
cameraman
"What about me?"
feedback.
You're my brother.
We're gonna-
You don't count. But my son is something totally different. He think he got to know this person, that person, and I have to explain to him, dude, at this point, you're 16. You have to understand everybody that laughs and kiki and call a friend, it's not a friend.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
As they say, everybody
Takes so
that's
long
laughing.
to figure that out. Too.
Yeah, and I
real
don't want you
long.
to find out the hard way.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you this tool right now. But, oh, no, that's so-and-so. And, I could call such and such. And I just look at him like, bruh,
Yeah.
you got to understand. Yes, you got to know people to get along, to get in this world. But you can't sit and say, just because you know this person, y'all hang out every now and again,
That
y'all
they're
are
your friend.
Call
Yeah,
them when you have
I
a
think-
flat tire and see if they show up.
and I think it matters too whether because it's still such a thing, introvert, extrovert,
Yeah.
and so respecting people where they are and understanding that we are all different. Do you believe? And so some studies, University of Michigan, 3 out of 4 parents believe that COVID actually hurt the social.
No.
It was
the
jacked.
social
It was Jack
connection with
before
It
the
then.
students.
It was Jack before then.
Yeah.
I'm saying, do you guys believe? I mean, your child, and you know what they were pre-COVID
Yes.
versus now. Do you believe that it changed them? Because think about the time that they were isolated or away from people, away from
They weren't away.
friends,
They weren't away from people.
socializing. What do you think about
They
that?
wasn't away from people. I'm gonna tell you why they wasn't away from people.
They were on.
Yep.
They was on their phone. So let's look at
No,
this.
we're talking about face-to-face communication.
They don't
like
do.
their
They
skills.
didn't. These kids don't do that anyway.
So you saying before that? they
Way
weren't
before
doing
that, they weren't even doing
Okay.
that. Well, COVID made this the phone even more important because the simple
Yes.
fact I can sit at my house and FaceTime 7 people and have just as much fun with those 7 people on FaceTime than they're doing having them in our face. That's how these kids react.
Well, guess what? Studies say 46% of some of the mental health issues and challenges that teens are facing today would be a result of having that
social-
anti-social face-to-face contact during that time, during COVID.
I'm gonna ask you a question. When you was growing up, Dr. V, well, I don't know if you was able to leave your porch.
I
Dun,
was.
dun, dun.
After
No, but
be home by like 7.
But when I know for me, and keep saying about me, we would go from house to house,
Yeah.
literally. If I know,
I understand where you're going with
If-
that, with
if-
the village and
no, I'm just
being
saying,
able to-
If I was going across town,
Yes.
go play basketball, I know which streets to hit to gather some of my peoples to go play basketball. And by the time we get there to the court, we about 15, 20 deep. But on our way home, we dropping each other off on the way home.
Okay.
These kids won't even walk up the street.
Well, yeah, it's different, and you got more. I'll say teenagers driving now, And so they picking them up. It's just not, I would say, not as much bike riding together and walking together as back in the day.
That's how we
So
got to
a
know
lot
each
more,
other, though.
A lot more. I agree with
Yeah.
that. So let's go into some of the other challenges, because there's quite a few. So this is desensitization,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, because of what they see and all the violence that
Yes.
that they're exposed to, even on television. Some of the programming, parents are not not intervening and stopping them, and they hear it, or the parents are watching it with them, etc. And so a lot of things that the young people are seeing today has caused them to, it's not a big deal. So they hear about somebody getting shot or killed down the street. It's not a big deal.
And plus, they have, I don't care what kind of restrictions you can put on your child. If you give them free access to their cell phone, it doesn't matter what you've put in place. Because if you tell me I remember in our house, sometimes my brother and I would sneak downstairs and we'd turn on Cinemax because it was like the worst thing ever then. So, and we had like a spiral staircase. So we'd be like, because my parents told us that you can never.
You couldn't watch Cinemax after 12 o'clock.
Yeah, so since they said that, we wanted to watch it. But what if I had a cell
Garden
phone?
of Eden effect.
What if we had a cell phone back then? Okay, you don't want me to
Don't look at it. That's what I want to look at.
So the kids are seeing things even that aren't on the news or in their face, because
That's right.
they can look it up. They can see all of it. It's just right there. It's just such a different world with the media.
Yeah, it's totally different.
So a lot of things they're dealing with: stress, depression, anxiety, eating disorders. So that kind of connects to the poverty, but some of them intentionally
Yes.
have eating disorders
Yes.
for some reasons, as social media, body shaming, and the imaging, and trying to fit in for a certain size, etc. Low motivation, lack of motivation to do certain things, even to study for some students. Drugs. So we can't leave without talking about drugs and alcohol or sex. They are faced with so many challenges. How do we deal with this? What things do we need to do? Some people need to interject, I'm going to say, a whole lot of other activities with their teens.
Yeah.
How about do some things with them? So my pledge, you was talking about a challenge, is to give them your attention.
Yes.
So I would say, if all of us could make a pledge, I don't know what y'all pledge might be, but here's mine: to be a good ear, listen with my eyes, ears, and my heart. And I think that's why I have some students that call me even when they're on spring break. What would you pledge to the teenagers today that's going to help them be better for tomorrow?
To the teenagers, I would say a lot of times we think our parents are just completely ignorant, or our teachers. Anybody who is an adult or a superior knows nothing. I thought the same thing. And I wasn't one. I never got in trouble. I never did any of that because my parents were extremely strict. But I thought the whole time I was growing up, you don't know anything. So my daughter thought the same thing. So something that I adopted as a parent was, I feel like I need to tell her more about the world than my parents told me, because I feel like I grew up in like Beaver Cleaver house. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And that is not today. So I feel like my job about sex, about drugs, about alcohol, instead of waiting for her to come to me and say, I'm pregnant. No, we're going to sit down and have the conversation. This is how life is going to be if you get pregnant.
Absolutely.
So being proactive. So teens, listen to your parents, your parents that are guiding you in the right direction. And parents also, a lot of times, do more listening to your children than talking, because that conversation,
Yes.
they'll tell everything if you give them the floor to do so.
Yeah.
So listen
E?
to your parents, speak
Yeah,
to your children.
That's good. That's good. E, you got a pledge? What
Yeah,
do you
punch 'em
wanna
in the
say
throat.
to the team? No, he did not say. I'm glad you guys didn't
You
hear
know what?
that.
You've been so good this whole time. You have been so
I'm
good.
glad.
No, but
E,
for
you
real,
gotta
no.
say something.
No.
How are we gonna help him?
but,
He said
for real.
punch him in the throat.
Punch him
so
in the
you-
throat,
what-
but-
so basically,
no,
you
but-
saying some parents have
Need the discipline.
spared the rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be disciplined.
Discipline.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just like, I have a nephew. He calls me. My son calls me. My daughter calls me. And, yeah, I let him talk. But I also let him know that's not the way to go. Period. We so busy at this point in trying to coddle them versus giving them that hard, stern understanding. No, that's wrong.
Yes.
No.
Go ahead and do it. I'm gonna let you bump your head. You come back and see.
But then
me.
they said, but you did it, Dad. You was sexing.
Okay, here's the thing about
you
it.
was smoking, drinking.
Here's the thing about it. I tell them more. I made enough mistakes for you
Right.
where you shouldn't have to make many.
But some parents say you need to let them bump their own head.
I'm one of those parents. Bump your head. Go ahead. I want you to. Now you can understand and see what it feels. Now we can come back and have this conversation all over again. Because
Okay.
once you bump your head, now you got to have this conversation with me again. Now guess what? You'll listen to understand. Okay, I guess that little knucklehead do know what he's talking about.
Okay.
Right.
What do y'all think? Do you agree? Some of our young people are having a challenge with religion, spirituality, faith, belief.
You don't want
And
me
a
to go
lot
there.
of, I know we don't have time.
You don't want me to go
We don't
there.
have time for you to go there. But do you guys believe that that is one of the challenges? And would you say it
No.
starts in the house, the reason it's a challenge, or
Well,
not?
Well, my son, he's heavy in the church.
He is.
He's super heavy in the church. And I'll just say that's one of them things I'm going to let him bump his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him bump his head because some fact I enjoy that you into the church. I enjoy that you're disciplined enough to be, aligned.
Are you talking about you gonna let him experience church hurt, or what you said?
Got
what you
to.
said?
Yes.
Okay.
You got to. But see, the
Okay.
biggest thing, and like I told him, do you even read your Bible? He started laughing. I said, I guess you don't. So you just in it for the shine.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Entertainment.
Bump
part
your head.
And the
Yeah.
fun part.
Come on back. I got you when you come back, but I'm gonna let you bump your head.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
And
right.
I think too a lot of it has to do with how you were raised. Were you in church? Because I did the opposite. My parents both went to Catholic schools. We were raised in the Catholic Church. Sweetie, as soon as I was able to not go to the Catholic Church, I never went to the
Wow.
Catholic Church.
Cut out.
So my parents could have raised me, however, about Christianity and being a Catholic, but I will never go to a church where I feel like I cannot connect with the higher power because I haven't memorized the hymns and everything else.
Wow.
I never stepped foot into, or basically hardly any church. I'm spiritual, but and it's because of how I grew. It's because of that, I think.
So from home,
Truly.
your home
Yeah.
base. Okay.
Yeah, or just hating church,
Interesting.
hating Catholic church. Like I still, I'm sorry if you're Catholic, but I still think Catholic church is a joke.
Oh, we
Okay, that
we
would be-
canceled.
that
Look, we
would be-
canceled.
That would definitely be a
We canceled.
topic for another show. But I love that you're being transparent. You can say it. I can't because I'm not Catholic.
My
I
mom
haven't
thinks when I get
experienced
married, we're gonna have a Catholic wedding. No, we're not.
Oh, surprise,
No, we're
Mom.
not. Or a wedding.
that. Well, shout out to Mom.
You say you gonna have your
Or a wedding.
You gonna have your wedding at the bar, huh?
Listen, thank you. We can, we can do this. We can have good, amazing conversation with these great people all night. I want to say thank you. This is Neutral Voices for hanging out with us. But I want to say to the parents, I was talking about the pledge. I'll tell you, take the pledge. Here's mine. All parents, even guardians, aunties, big brothers, etc. Take the pledge to be the person that child needs. So no matter who you are behind closed doors, when that child is watching, make a pledge to be all you can be for them. This is Neutral Voices, and what we say, Eve, before we leave?
Always protect your mind.
Yes, thank you. A podcast by Neutral Voices Media.
Count your opinions important, so you gotta speak out. Don't let your chance to be heard pass by. Spell out, let me hear you loud, proud. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Shout it out real loud. Everybody wake up. Wake up. No time for sleeping on the issues. This is Neutral Voices. We gon' deal with the issues.